What's up guys, it's Frogfidog, and this is the iPhone tier list. As you can see, to the left of me is the tier list. We're going all the way from S to F, because there's a lot more items than the Nintendo DS tier list. And on these next slides, because yes, we use PowerPoint, we have all the iPhones. Well, this is the first half of them, and then we got to do another slide for the rest of them. So there they all are. And it's pretty simple, we're just putting the iPhone into the tier that I feel is best based off of its influence, its features, and how good of an upgrade it was. And also, of course, just a reminder that this list is entirely my opinion. If you want to make your own list, feel free to, but this is just how I feel about these iPhones. So to get started with the OG, the iPhone 2G. The iPhone 2G was the first ever iPhone, the revolutionary iPhone. I have one right here. I'm gonna say right now, it's not an S tier phone. I'm also not even sure if it's an A tier phone. But Frogfidog, how could that be the case? How could it be anything less than S tier? Because it was a revolutionary phone. It changed everything. While yes, it is very revolutionary, it really wasn't the best iPhone, nor was it even the best phone in the world. It launched with a lot of things missing. It didn't have an app store, you couldn't copy and paste, it didn't even have 3G, it was a 2G phone, which was a bit even at that time. The headphone jack was recessed so you could only use Apple branded headphones with them, and it was also really expensive. It didn't sell as well as later models did. It was a very good first start, like for 2007 it's a very impressive device, but it really is not the best iPhone. So I believe that this little guy here will put that into the B tier. It has a lot of things wrong with it, which that's fine. It's okay for a first gen product to kind of be not the best, because that's why you go to improve it. So iPhone 2G is not S tier, it's not A tier, it's revolutionary, but it's a B tier iPhone. It just had a lot of things missing with it, or a lot of things that will be improved upon later. It can't even take video. I completely forgot about that, but yeah, that phone can't take video. Like, it has the ability to, but Apple just didn't let you. Let's go on next to the iPhone 3G. The iPhone 3G did improve a few things. It actually launched with an app store, I believe. It launched with 3G, which helped data speeds quite a bit. It also fixed the recessed headphone jack issue too, which, yeah, they probably shouldn't have done that in the first place. It really wasn't much faster than the iPhone 2G. It wasn't really the best update in the world. Like, it fixed a few things, but it was also not very much faster. I think for the iPhone 3G, I feel it's a little bit of a mid upgrade. Again, it wasn't too big of an upgrade, it's basically just an iPhone with 3G and in a crappier plastic enclosure. It was cheaper though, it's what got people into the iPhone, but it was not much faster. But same can't be said about the iPhone 3GS. The iPhone 3GS was definitely a much needed improvement. The S meant speed, because it was faster. It was a faster phone. It was just better overall. Got up to iOS 6. Yeah, I would say this would be a good upgrade. It's still not a revolutionary update, it's just a faster version of the iPhone 3G. So I think it can go next to the iPhone 2G, but it'll go above the iPhone 2G. Yeah, that should work, I think. The iPhone 4. What a revolutionary design. The design of the iPhone 4 is very, very nice. Still, to this day, one of the best looking phones of all time. It did have a few issues though, mostly the antenna gate stuff. It was a really nice looking phone. I think this will be our first A tier phone. Plop it up here. iPhone 4 in the A tier. Now, I would put the iPhone 4 in the S tier, but again, it had those antenna gate issues, which, yeah, I mean, obviously they weren't also that bad, like, but it was still a thing that happened. Apple could have maybe done something a little bit better with the antennas there, which they did fix on the iPhone 4S. The iPhone 4S was a small increment, but it was faster, it added Siri, it fixed the antenna stuff. I think this phone is definitely an S tier phone. Is it an S tier phone though? Because it got updated all the way to iOS 9 and it got pretty sluggish on iOS 9. I don't know, I think we're going to put it above the iPhone 4 in A tier, but Apple kind of dropped the ball on this one in terms of updates, because this phone got too many updates. This phone runs like complete crap on iOS 9. We'll put you in the A tier, we can shuffle this stuff around a little bit later. It could be S tier, but it's an absolute slog on iOS 9. Borderline unusable at times, it's, yeah, not the best. Oh, I didn't even mention for the iPhone 4 generation that they switched to a Retina IPS display, which looks significantly better than the previous gens. It was such a massive improvement for the iPhone. We're not gonna get like massive steps like that nowadays ever again. The iPhone 5. This iPhone changed to a 16:9 aspect ratio. It was taller, it was bigger for the first time ever, but it was still a really nice size. The slate color was also a once-off thing that they did, which they didn't do again because the color had a really terrible finish that would wear off pretty easily. It's a very, very iconic design. Some say it's their favorite design. I would say the iPhone 5 is an S tier phone. Up there. And of course the aluminium back is definitely a bit more durable than the glass back on the iPhone 4 and 4S. You still get those little hints of glass on the top and bottom, but very nice phone. I think it was one of the last phones Steve Jobs had a hand in making. Some say he had involvement with the later ones, but yeah, it's too early in development, those other ones. This phone would have definitely been in development while it was still alive. But yeah, the iPhone 5 is just, didn't release with any problems that I really can think of. It was just a nice improvement. Very nice improvement indeed. The iPhone 5C. Ah, what a jump. The iPhone 5C is basically just an iPhone 5, but in a crappier enclosure. It was still a nice phone, it just wasn't the right thing at the right time. It just, yeah, cheap. iPhone 5C, cheap, crappy. Oh, it wasn't really crappy, it was just the cheap budget model. The plastic was still kind of nice, not having, metal and stuff to scratch, but also it's still plastic. Also, it's literally an iPhone 5, so it had the older generation processor in the phone, which nowadays literally does not matter, but back then it mattered a lot more because performance jumps were massive back then, like extremely noticeable. It didn't sell very well. It did not sell very well. It just was not the right phone at the right time. iPhone 5C is deserving of the F tier. Get in there, get the hell out of here. I still like the 5C, it's kind of nice, but also it's an F tier iPhone. It's the worst iPhone, straight up. iPhone 5S. This phone introduced Touch ID into the home button, so you could unlock with your fingerprint, which was a very nice improvement. It was the first iPhone with 64-bit processing. It introduced the gold color, which was pretty iconic. It's basically an iPhone 5, but better in every single way. This got updated all the way until 2018 with iOS 12, which was very impressive at the time, software support. If you bought an iPhone 5S, you got to eat pretty good until about 2018, so that's, 5 years of updates, which pretty much every phone at the time didn't do, even in 2018, so the iPhone 5S, I feel, goes into the S tier. It's still a very, very nice iPhone. It was also the start of, I would say, the new generation of iPhones. The iPhone 5, I feel, is the last of the old generation, still just bare bones basic iPhone, home button, screen, that's about it. 5S, they started to change things up. 5S got the Touch ID sensor and just everything on the phone was starting to change. Yes, I stole that from a DankPods video, but it is true. He is right about that. The iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, Apple's response to the big phones, like the Samsungs of the time. And for those who liked large phones, it was a very nice model. It was not that good of an iPhone. Honestly, the iPhone 6 is kind of crappy. Again, the design was very, very nice at the time. In 2014, it looked very, very sleek. The iPhone 6 has the most boring design of any iPhones. A silver iPhone 6 just looks like crap. Here, let me get up an example. iPhone 6. Now, yes, it's an iPhone 6S, but they look the damn same. Who let these antenna lines happen? Like, what is this? I know it's trying to mimic an iPhone 5 and 5S but it just looks bad. It looks straight up bad. This is also the first time the camera protruded from the back, which was a massive controversy at the time. Oh, if only they knew what was to come. This is probably the ugliest iPhone ever released. If you think otherwise, you are just straight up wrong. Now, you can have your own opinions, but my opinion is that the iPhone 6 is the ugliest iPhone ever released. I Hate how it looks. It looks stupid. In terms of performance, there really was not much of a jump. It was basically an iPhone 5S put into a larger body. Not exactly, because they did improve it slightly, but it really wasn't much of an improvement. It's basically just a bigger iPhone. Oh my god, how did I even forget to mention they bent? These phones to this day are still the thinnest iPhones ever released. And for good reason, because they bent. You could bend them really easily. Let's insert that clip of me bending one. Yeah, these really weren't the best. This was Apple at their peak. Like, Apple in 2014, 2015, 2016 really loved just kind of making everything thin and crappy. You had the iPhone 6, which bent. You had the 2015 Retina MacBook, which just sucked, and literally mine died on me filming a recent video. The Mac Pro also sucked. Just everything Apple was releasing at this time was just a little bit bleh. This was Apple at just their most stuck up period, I would say. They were peak form over function. The devices at this time really weren't that good, honestly. This era of Apple was not fantastic in my opinion. We're gonna put it into the E tier for now because I'm thinking of some other phones that are coming up and I know some stuff that would fit nicely in the D tier. It was just not enough of an improvement. Unlike the iPhone 6S, which was a much needed speed increase, Touch ID even got faster, it had 3D touch too. It was the last mainline iPhone with a headphone jack. So if you want the ultimate headphone jack iPhone, this is it. You can't get any better than this. The camera improvements were also really nice this year as well. You gain the ability to record in 4K, I believe. I'm not looking up any points. Editor me can go do that one. And with this phone, you also got an absolutely insane amount of software support from this. This was released in 2015 on iOS 9, and it got all the way up to iOS 15 in 2021. 2021. That's like 7 years of... No, how many years is that? That's about 6 years of software support. That is crazy, and not to mention the security updates which kept going. iPhone 6S was a very nice iPhone. I'm feeling a little bit like an A tier. It was a good phone. Look, the battery life wasn't fantastic either. It was still thin. A tier. It's a nice phone. The software support is absolutely immaculate on this thing. Yeah. Okay. The iPhone 7. Here's where things started to change a little bit. The headphone jack was gone. The home button was turned into a solid state button, and the Plus model gained 2 cameras. Dual cameras really weren't that useful at the time. 2x optical wasn't fantastic. It was still okay. The camera still didn't look amazing. Portrait mode is whatever. I've like never used portrait mode in my life. People were really pissed about the removal of the headphone jack, and rightly so, because there's still no reason to get rid of it besides, well, courage, and also selling your damn AirPods, which was successful but made everyone else do it. Everyone else. The headphone jack's still useful. Honestly, we should bring back the headphone jack. There's genuinely no reason to get rid of it. There's no good reason to get rid of it. They still looked very nice. I'd say the colors of this generation of iPhone were crazy. You had the matte black one, you had the jet black one which scratched up really easily. You had all the returning colors from the iPhone 6S, and you even got this really nice product red one. I kind of wish we got more vibrant colors on the flagship model iPhones. Apple just doesn't do it anymore. Yeah. iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, I think, they were nice phones. Like, they hold up better today with some of the stuff that they took away, but they really removed a lot of stuff. This generation iPhone felt extremely anti-consumer, and you go into the D tier. And that is the D tier phone I was thinking of when I put the iPhone 6 down here. Just terrible, icky, anti-consumer Apple. Next up, we got the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, which is basically just a slightly improved iPhone 7 with a glass back and wireless charging. That's it. Not really much else to say about that. This one gets to go into... we'll put in the C tier. It's mid. It's good that they added wireless charging. The glass back was a very nice reminiscent callback to the iPhone 4 days, but it's just a slightly better iPhone 7. Next up, we have the iPhone 10. The best iPhone since iPhone. At least that's what they would say. I hate those. Yeah. We're pretty much never going to see a jump like this ever again between the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 10. In the iPhone 6S and iPhone 7 days, Apple was really getting passed by the competition in terms of design. They were just getting pummeled. Android phones just straight up looked better, and Apple was just pulling all this dumb anti-consumer stuff. With the iPhone 10, they finally caught up and surpassed a little bit in terms of design. The notch, still not fantastic, but we care about it less. We're more used to it now, but the notch was never that that good looking, it's still a little bit ugly. Removal of Touch ID wasn't also very liked. Face ID is imperfect, but it's still nice to have. The camera setup as well was same deal as the iPhone 7, 8, you know, with the portrait mode 2x optical, because the camera quality still wasn't exactly there for the 2x optical yet. And also portrait mode, who cares? I know there's people who like portrait mode, but it wasn't even like good at the time either, because the way it would do the cutout around you was still crappy. It didn't look very good. It is kind of like a first generation product. It was also a little bit late as well. You could tell this phone was a little bit rushed. Definitely like an A tier phone. Kudos to Apple for actually changing something at a time when changing stuff really was important. How could I forget? They removed the home button and changed to gesture navigation, which I love gesture navigation. It was a lot more hated in 2017, but I think people look back onto the iPhone 10 a lot more fondly now. The iPhone 10R. This phone kinda sucks. It's a really good budget option for people who wanted the new design and stuff, but the screen on it isn't even HD, it's an LCD panel. It's a very thick and chunky iPhone. Came in some nice colors, finally, some colors back into the iPhone line. Very much felt like a 5C sort of thing. What does R mean? What does the R in iPhone 10? I still don't know to this day what the R in 10R means. What is R? What is R? iPhone 10R. What do you mean by that, Apple? What's an iPhone 10R? Can you tell me? This phone has just gotten iOS 18, so it's still getting software support to this very day. So if you got an iPhone 10R with its crappy LCD screen, you're still eating good to this very day. You know, it's a nice budget model, but also I just don't like this phone. I like the colors, but everything else about it is very compromised, but consumers who buy it at this price range really don't care. I know plenty of Apple users who still use this phone to this day, some of them. They don't care. They don't care that the screen's an LCD, not even 720p. It sold very well. Like, the iPhone 10R sold stupid numbers. It sold absolutely stupid numbers. People ate this thing up. You go into the B tier, you kind of suck, but also you're still getting updates to this very day, and it sold very well. It's not my favorite iPhone. I think the screen on it sucks. The iPhone XS/XS Max. Unless you wanted a new color and a new size, this phone was the most boring update to an iPhone ever. Maybe not ever, there's one more that comes close. This was kind of a nothing update, but I mean, we just had such a massive revolutionary update with the iPhone 10 that I think it's okay for Apple to sort of just phone it in for 2018. And it's fair, people who wanted the larger size got the larger size. They also got the new color. This was kind of what the iPhone 10 should have been. Rumors suggest that the iPhone 10 was severely rushed and was kind of actually brought forward a year for 2017 to compete with competition, and the 10 was meant to come out in 2018, but those are still just rumors, and this phone is boring. We go into E for boring. What a snooze fest. And again, the naming convention here sucks. iPhone XS, iPhone XS, iPhone XS Max? This was a weird time for iPhones. Next up, we have the iPhone 11, which is a slightly upgraded iPhone XR. You know, it gets the second camera, got an ultra-wide camera, which is cool. I think it's better to have an ultra-wide than a telephoto, because with an ultra-wide, you're getting more that you can't get with a normal camera, but with a telephoto, you're basically just zooming in, which you can do with most cameras. So it's good to get that extra option for something you can't normally get with a normal camera. The screen still sucks on it. It's basically the same screen. Again, the iPhone 11 sold tremendously well. They switched the camera design up as well. It's a slightly better iPhone XR. And for that, I think it goes above the XR in B tier. We're definitely going to put it above the 2G and the 3GS, I think. This is weird. The B tier is looking strange to me right now. We're definitely going to have to alter some things here, but let's just get them into their tiers first and then we'll shift things around. iPhone 11 Pro/Pro Max, Apple's first Pro iPhones. Okay. I feel like this is when Apple really tried to be more competitive with Android and be a little more pro-consumer. They made the phones thicker, they put a really nice battery in there. They introduced the ultra-wide to this phone as well, giving us the 3-camera layout, which we still have on most phones to this very day. It's a pretty standardized layout now. They removed 3D Touch, they cut out a lot of the crap, because 3D Touch made the screens thicker on these things, allowing for less battery. It was definitely a much more function-focused update, which I can appreciate. People also hated the stovetop camera design, but it's still used today. iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max. Pretty decent phones. Dare I say S tier? S tier is looking a bit bland. I don't know, I'm gonna put it in S tier because it's still a really good phone. It has 90% of what the new phones have. We'll put it in S tier, we can move things around, but it's a really good phone. iPhone 12 mini. I love the mini iPhone so much. This was just such a cool thing for Apple to do, to make a mini iPhone for everyone, because not many people were really doing it. They didn't sell very well. I still really appreciate that they actually went and done this. The iPhone 12 in general, we'll talk about the 12 as well while we're here. It's really just an iPhone 11 with worse battery life. They finally upgraded to an OLED screen on every model. Yay, welcome to 2020, Apple. They added the MagSafe ring for charging, which is nice, but also you can just buy a case for your iPhone 11 which did the exact same thing. The squared edges look cool, but it's not ergonomic. The iPhone 12 really was not that much of an improvement. In fact, it was kind of worse in some areas, so this phone gets to go into the C tier. The iPhone 12 mini, same thing. Smaller size, which is nice. Horrible battery life. Still only 64 gigs of internal storage. I'm gonna put this in B tier because it's objectively worse than 12 in nearly every way, but I'm just too much of a fan of the mini iPhones to put it in any other place. Sorry, B tier. iPhone 12 mini goes into the B tier. iPhone 12 goes into the C tier because who the hell cares? It's not that much better than iPhone 11 and has a worse battery life. OLED screen's nice. iPhone 12 Pro Max. Squared off the edges again. MagSafe ring again. Worse battery life. Yeah. This is really when people were kind of wanting a high refresh rate screen on an iPhone. The iPhone 12 Pro shipped with a 60Hz screen. It was kind of getting a bit, come on Apple. Now we're getting into the more glacial, slower updates. I'm gonna put this right into the D tier. Why am I putting this in the D tier? Because it was a tiny update. At least the 12 got rid of that screen from the iPhone 11 and 10R. Wait, then why have I put it? Hold on, we need to move some stuff around. Okay, you go here, you go here, 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 here. 12 can go, well, I can't put the 12. Can't put the 12 mini above the 12. This is not, okay, we're gonna have to alter this soon, but, well, it's definitely better than the 8 and 8 Plus. I mean, it added more feet. No, because the 8 added wireless charging. Well, I guess it makes sense to put it with the budget ones. Yeah, we'll do that, because the 8 Plus added a pretty nice feature, and these guys are just sort of incremental updates. What have I done to the tier list? We'll think more about this at the end. Also, just noticed that the iPhone 12 is being blocked by my webcam. Oh well. Now, time to go into the iPhone 13 and 13 mini. Let's start with the 13. Much better cameras, smaller notch. Finally. God, Apple, that took you a long time, actually. It's pretty much an iPhone 12, but better in every single way. Therefore, the iPhone 13, right here, it could teeter in, actually, I don't know if it's an S tier iPhone. We'll put it in A tier, and we'll sort of decide a little bit later, because, oh, look what I'm making space for. Look what I'm making space for. The iPhone 13 mini. Every single improvement that was made to the 13 significantly improved the 13 mini. 128 gig base storage, better cameras, better battery, smaller notch, all of those changes amplified on the mini. They were nice on the 13, but on the 13 mini, those changes mattered even more. iPhone 13 mini is the ultimate small smartphone of this generation. I love the mini iPhones. They are objectively worse than their larger brothers, but I like them more. iPhone 13 Pro / Max, better cameras, better battery, smaller notch, Pro motion display, 120Hz. Finally, can we put this one, I don't know if we can put it in S tier. You know what, we can put it in S tier because if you have this phone today, it's still 100% a fully functional phone today. You can have an iPhone 13 Pro / Pro Max and have the exact same experience as practically everyone else. This is all you ever need. 13 Pro, 13 Pro Max, solid. It's all the iPhone you ever need, even today in 2024, even today going into 2025. Ah, the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus. Apple decided to not update the processor in this. Sure, if you wanted the larger size at a budget model, this was a good option and was actually pretty decent for you. But they didn't even update the processor. I think the cameras are slightly better, that's about it. There's that satellite communication, but man, this sucked. This just sucked. I'm putting this right into the F tier. This was a stupid update. They literally did nothing for this. You can go above the 5C at least, because you know what, it is kind of a 5C situation. They both didn't update the processors. And the 14 Plus at least added a new option for people and is kind of nice at battery life, but man, get into the F tier where you belong, iPhone 14. The iPhone 13 is just a better value, straight up. Literally, Waste of money. You're paying more for the same damn thing. iPhone 14 Pro Max. It's an iPhone 13 with a faster processor, which really doesn't matter these days, and some better cameras, and also they changed the notch design. Oh yeah, Dynamic Island, how nice. Other than that, it's a pretty tiny update. The Dynamic Island absolutely saved the 14 Pro Max. It saved this phone. Because quite frankly, if it didn't have it, it would have been one of the most snooze fest updates we would have had. But yeah, Dynamic Island's nice, but also get into the B tier. Get into the B tier. You are a tiny, tiny upgrade. Tiny. You know what? No, hold on. Hold on just a second. So the 12 Pro was an absolutely tiny upgrade, and I put it in D. How can I put the 14 Pro Max in B? No way. You go into C because you're nearly iPhone 12 Pro levels of meh, but you changed the notch design, so good on you. It was actually kind of hype at the time. That didn't get leaked. The Dynamic Island. That didn't get leaked. It shocked everyone, and it was actually pretty exciting. You created a bit of a buzz, iPhone 14 Pro. The purple's nice. You're still a tiny upgrade. iPhone 15. Now we're getting into the absolute snooze fest iPhones. All these modern iPhones have been a little bit of a who cares kind of situation. You know, at least they finally got their chip upgrade. You know, they're a year behind now in processing power. It's a very popular model from what I could see. Lots of colors. The colors on this suck. They are the most washed out, boring colors that Apple's ever made. I can foresee this phone getting a lot of software updates in the future because I'd imagine this model was pretty popular. Yeah, you are a little bit of a snooze fest. You're going to C, maybe B. How can the 12 be B while the 15 is C? We'll figure this out in just a moment. I just realized something. The 15 cannot go into the C tier. You know why? Because this is the phone that introduced USB-C to the iPhones. They finally got rid of that stupid lightning connector. B tier. B tier. Just for that. That is the one thing that finally made me actually consider getting an iPhone. I'm still not maining one. And also I should say as well, I'm surprised I didn't say this at the start, this is all coming from the perspective of an Android user. You know, the 15 goes above these two because of USB-C. It matters a lot more. iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. USB-C. Very nice. Action button is a cool change. Clearly Apple's sort of going against what they would usually do and they're actually adding buttons and stuff, can you believe it? So this is kind of their way to add in features at a time when things are looking pretty boring for iPhones and smartphones in general. The design looks a lot more refined with the titanium and the slightly rounded edges, which actually helps a bit with the ergonomics. Has the action button, is made out of titanium, who cares? Who cares? It's a nice finish, but realistically it's a phone, you're gonna put a case on it anyway. iPhone 15 Pro Max, USB-C, very good. Slightly better ergonomics for people who don't put it in a case. I guess it looks cool as well. Colors are pretty boring. Put you slightly above this. You got the extra feature with the action button, which is cool. Next up, we have the newest iPhones. The iPhone 16 and 16 Plus. I think the 16 and the 16 Plus are pretty sweet. My god, they improved the colors. Finally, got rid of those stupid 15 washed out. Ugh. And they brought back some actual life to these phones. They look a lot better. The vertical stacked cameras, they look better. Really, these angled cameras, what were they thinking, honestly? Looking back at them, those cameras are going to look more and more out of place as time goes on. Built from the ground up for Apple Intelligence, who cares? Some points deducted for marketing Apple Intelligence so damn hard and not even launching with it. Come on, Apple. Really, really pathetic on your part, but you don't have to use the AI features, and those AI features got us 8 gigs of RAM on every model of iPhone. Sweet, more performance. That's the one good thing about this AI trend, it's giving our phones more RAM. Really, the 16 above the 15 is a pretty large increase. I have genuinely no idea why people are saying, oh, this is such a nothing upgrade. It's a massive upgrade. You're getting a massive bump in processor speed because the 15 used the previous year's chip, while the 16 is using the current gen chip, the A18. So you're jumping from the A16 to the A18, which gives you a lot more performance. You know, you get to do ray tracing on your phone now, which, I mean, it's cool, but yeah. Again, 8 gigs of RAM, you get the action button, you get the camera button. How could I forget to mention the camera button? It's cool, The trackpad features of it kind of suck to use, honestly, from what I tried in the Apple Store and all that. Using it as a trackpad kind of sucks, not gonna lie, I'm actually not too much of a fan of it. It's really cool. I like seeing Apple actually doing new things. It's really nice just as a camera macro button. And for that purpose, the camera button's really nice. Again, the trackpad features, the half pushes you have to do, aren't that good. I think they're pretty nice. They can go all the way up into the A tier. Definitely a lot larger of an improvement than I initially thought was gonna happen. Is it better than the 13 and the 13 mini? I think so. I think it's gonna age a lot better than the 13 and 13 mini. Just because of that massive performance increase, the extra features you've been given. Like, there's genuinely reason to update from the 13 to the 16. Now, the 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max, they've got the camera button. This phone is going into the E tier where it belongs. This is just boring. Can we get a E tier for a boring? Oh, hey, look at that. Almost looks like the XS. They could sit nicely together in the boring tier of E. Who cares about the iPhone 16 Pro? It's just... Now let's get into the SE phones. The original iPhone SE. iPhone SE was really nice. They brought back the iPhone 5S and just made it better. And the software support lasted until 2021. And it had a headphone jack. They also added a new color too, rose gold. It's basically what happens if you take an iPhone 5S and cram it with an iPhone 6S. You get a good phone. For people who like the small compact iPhones, this little guy gets a little spot into the S tier. You get to sit in the S tier, little iPhone SE. I like the iPhone SE. iPhone SE 2. It's an iPhone 8, but with the performance of... I actually forget which one this one has the performance of, but what I do know is that this one was a really good value when it launched. So iPhone SE 2, I think we'll put you in B tier. We'll put you in the B tier. It was still a really decent phone. It wasn't as cool as the original SE, but it's very solid. SE 3 was released to ham up the 5G hype, and it costs more. Still decent enough, but we'll put it into the C tier because there's a lot less hype around it. Maybe D tier, actually D tier because it had less value. And look at that, we've put them all into the tiers and we got a nice little bell curve going on here. Now, time to review the placements of these devices. Can we put the iPhone 7 below the 12? iPhone 12, pretty small increase. You know what, actually I think the iPhone 12 belongs into the C tier because it's a bit of a mid update. I think the very top of C tier makes more sense for the iPhone 12. iPhone 6S, it's an ugly looking thing, but I think we're going to move it up to S tier. And that is the tier list. What do you guys want to see me tier list next? And you can stop watching now, please stop watching.